Hello everybody, this is the Wikstrand. Last time I tried to review a movie on a bed of water, I fell into that same water. Hopefully I won't do the same thing this time either. But today we are going to talk about 1984. 1984 is possibly regarded as the most 80s of all the 80s years. However, surprise to me when it comes to the movies released in the year of our Lord 1984, it is not going to be a cavalcade of feel-good movies and cheesy action comedies or anything like that. It's going to be quite lot of... We're actually going to mention a couple of comedies here, but there is a surprising number of feel-bad movies in this little list. However, there's going to be a couple of really top-notch movies we're going to have today. So, without further ado, let's go into the best movies of 1984. The rules for this are very simple. Originally, the movie had to be released in 1984. It can be any country, any genre. Simple and nice. Some honorable mentions. Now, one thing I must say before we start with this little thing is that when I started doing this, I noticed fairly early that a lot of these posters of 1984 really wanted to tell you a lot about the movies. So I'm gonna read out the taglines for them, and the taglines for some of these movies, or if you even want to call them taglines, is a little bit excessive, if I may say so. Gremlins. The poster reads cute, clever, mischievous, intelligent, dangerous. Gremlins to me has always been a rather underwhelming movie. It is a very fun movie. There's a lot of heart to it, a lot of, classic, nice 80s feeling to it. It is a fun and rambunctious little movie, but I always felt that the much better movie is its amazing sequel, which I think is a pretty awesome movie. But Gremlins itself, it's a pretty awesome movie too. Once upon a time in America, the poster reads, as boys, they made a pact to share their fortunes, their loves, their lives. As men, they shared a dream to rise from poverty to power, forging an empire built on greed, violence, and betrayal. Their dreams would end as a mystery that refused to die. Sergio Leone's absolutely last movie is something else from his previous Western movies, a almost Scorsese-like, absolutely wanking long movie, which many people feels is an absolute masterpiece. I think it's really good. I mean, Robert De Niro, Joe Pesci, James Woods. It's a really epic movie in every sense of the word. But I've always felt that certain things could really have been cut. It is still, though, a gangster epic that is freaking awesome. But there are aspects of it that I think could really have been cut, and I have never been a huge fan of the ending. Still, though, it is the most epic way Sergio Leone could go out on. Not his best movie, but a damn good one. When the Raven Flies, also in some cases known as Revenge of the Barbarians, which sounds like one of the dumbest titles of all time, or a very good title for a metal band. The poster actually doesn't say anything for this one. How peculiar. This Icelandic Viking movie is a revenge tale that is about as subtle as a blow to the head. It is bloody, it's brutal, it is a low budget, awesome, unique movie. There are small little aspects here and there which I thought could have been better, but it is so unique and it is so raw and it is so just to the knuckle awesome that it is a really, really good movie that people doesn't talk about anymore. Too bad, because its awesomeness, it is awesome. Ghostbusters. The poster says they're here to save the world. Well, I guess so. One of the 80s absolute biggest movies. It is a comedic classic that is universally loved by almost everybody. I think it is a great movie. I mean, Harold Ramis, Rick Moranis, Bill Murray, Dan Aykroyd, Sigourney Weaver. It is an absolute masterclass in comedic timing for this one. It is one of these amazing movies that people always love. I love the high concept. I just love the energy of the movie and the music and all the great effects. My only gripe with this one is that the story kind of takes a backseat to, you know, Bill Murray and Dan Aykroyd just shooting the shit. If this movie could have had a little bit more focus on the story, I think one could have cracked the top 10 easily. But for now, it has to settle for a honorable mentions. But it's still a really good movie, worth mentioning as one of 1984's best movies. The Never-Ending Story. The poster says, a boy who needs a friend finds a world that needs a hero. Begin a journey into a limitless universe of entertainment. Experience the enchanted world of a young boy's imagination and behold the remarkable adventures that unfolds before your eyes. The Never-Ending Story is a super classic. It is a children's fantasy movie done by not insulting the intelligence of the audience. They trusted their audience enough to give them a story they could believe in, with high stakes, with real emotion. It is not like a sword and sorcery fantasy movie, but it is an emotional fantasy movie that, quite honestly, have never been topped since that. When Arthax dies in the pit of eternal peril. No, wait, that's the... That is the Monty Python and the Holy Grail, but still, this is an emotionally very charged, very impressive fantasy movie. A great spectacle and something that will really, really lift your imagination. It is one of these fantastic 80s movies that you can't really replicate these days. They would only have made it 2.5 hours long, and it would have, you know, not containing horses dying for what is it? 2 or 3 minutes. It's still, to me, to this day, is a chilling experience on exactly how much emotion you can pack into one movie. It is great. Number 10. Nausicaa of the Valley of the Winds. I hope I got that right. The poster says absolutely nothing. Anybody who knows anything about me knows that I love Hayao Miyazaki. He is my favorite animator of all time. Ghibli Studios has released more top-notch animated movies than any other animation studio ever. Oh, piss off with your Pixar, piss off with your Disney. This is the epitome of excellence in animation. This story about, you know, a warrior princess and pacifist, which I guess you can combine, who tries to, you know, make peace. It's an epic adventure. It is a masterclass in animation. It isn't even Miyazaki's best movie. It's not even close to Miyazaki's best movie. It's just one of his many, many great movies. And in 1984, it was stuck right here in place number 10. If you have never seen this movie before, it is a master of visual storytelling. It is a fantastic set of characters. It has so much intricate parts. It is just pure gold, amazing. Number 9. A Passage to India. The poster says, David Lean, the director of Dr. Zhivago, Lawrence of Arabia, and The Bridge on the River Kwai, invites you to come to a passage. David Lean's last movie about a British woman who comes to India to get married and then gets entangled with a rather misfortunate with the law, and it has a lot of stuff going on for itself. The story itself isn't the strongest part of the movie. The strongest part is the amazing scope that David Lean puts on. It is just such a big and epic movie that just it is vast, amazing storytelling. It has the drama, it has the great characters, it has some of the most amazing visual spectacle you will ever see, and it's such a leap forward from the catastrophe that was Ryan's Daughter. If historical spectacles is your thing, and also courtroom dramas, it's a slam dunk win, I would say. Number 8, Firestarter. The poster says, Charlie McGee is a happy, healthy, 8-year-old little girl, normal in every way, but one. She has the power to set objects afire with just one glance. It's a power she does not want. It's a power she does not control. And each night Charlie prays to be just like every other child. But there are those who will do everything in their power to find her, control her, or destroy her. Will she have the power to survive? This is not based on a song by Prodigy. I'm a fire starter, twisted fire starter. No, it's not. This is based on a Stephen King novel. This is a Dino De Laurentiis production. And we of course have the Drew Barrymore and her family, and they have, you know, psychic powers and stuff like that, and they're taken to this compound, and this kind of feels like a superhero movie. Like, I guess the New Mutants kind of has a similar vibe going on. We of course have child prodigy Drew Barrymore, but she's also flanked by Art Carney and George C. Scott and Martin Sheen. It is a very fascinating, very exciting, very unpredictable movie. If you're one of these people who like, you know, King's movies, this is actually, I think, one of the really, really good ones. The bad ones are usually the miniseries, but the good ones are usually those who are, you know, produced by Dino De Laurentiis, who kind of knew how to get the sort of goofy, but again a little bit serious material out of Stephen King in a way that it made them really, really interesting to watch and made them almost essential viewing. I think this is a very exciting, very unpredictable, and I think this is a really overlooked gem in the Stephen King based movie bunch of movies. It's a great one, and you should definitely check this one out if you haven't seen it already. It's a hell of a movie, and it keeps upping its stakes all the time, and this is just one of these movies. I don't know why people doesn't like it, which apparently a lot of people don't do. Number 7, The Killing Fields. The poster says, he was a reporter from the New York Times. He covered the Cambodian War with his camera and wrote about it from his heart. His coverage would win him a Pulitzer Prize for international reporting. But the friend who made it all possible couldn't be by his side. He was half of the world away, with his life in great danger. This is a story about war and friendship, the anguish of a country, and one man's will to live. This is one of these really, really horrible movies. It is a story about friendship, it is a story about the Cambodian genocide, and it has the most chilling sequence I have ever seen in the entirety of movies. It is such a horrendously horrible sequence that I'm never gonna forget it as long as I live. The rest of the movie is a really, really fascinating look into what happened in Cambodia during the communist uprising and all that stuff. If this movie makes you want to go even further down into the horrible pits of Cambodia's history, I would recommend also First They Killed My Father, a Netflix movie that came out a few years ago by Angelina Jolie. It's a really, really good movie too. It's tells a bit more of this sort of on the ground kind of a thing. This is more of an outsider's perspective. I think it is absolutely amazing. It is also your duty to see a movie that contains a John Malkovich, because a John Malkovich always brings you up after a horrible experience like this. This, however, is not the most horrible movie that was released in 1984, and we will get to that. Don't you worry. The Killing Fields is an important movie. It is one of these pseudo-documentary kind of a feeling to it, and it really has a strong, powerful message about friendship and, you know, reaching across continents and stuff like that. It is absolutely amazing. Number 6, Top Secret. The poster says, shh. From the makers of the original Airplane. Not the Wright brothers, brackets. And the absolute opposite of that is, of course, Top Secret. Now, if you want to talk about the Naked Gun and the Airplane and stuff like that, people tend to forget this movie. Top Secret, starring Val Kilmer, is one of the funniest comedies I've ever seen. Top Secret has some of the best physical comedy that's ever been made. It has some of the best visual gags of all time. It is an absolute masterpiece of dumb parodies. This is also the proof, if proof has ever been, that you don't need to parody just one thing. They parody, you know, things left and right, but the most savage things are, of course, reserved for the Blue Lagoon, which made the Blue Lagoon impossible to watch once you've seen Top Secret. I had the fortunate or unfortunate, or whatever it's called, to see this movie before I saw the Blue Lagoon, and I couldn't see the Blue Lagoon with a straight face after seeing that one. Granted, some of the music sequences goes on a little bit too long, but there are so many hysterical gags and there are so many funny lines in this one that it is amazing. There is sauerkraut in my lederhosen, så gör det, traitor, latrin! And the list goes on and on and on. This is a wonder to behold. Number 5. This is Spinal Tap. The poster says, well, not that much actually. Maybe this movie isn't as funny as Top Secret, but by God, it is a masterpiece. The fake documentary about the fictional band Spinal Tap has one thing in its arsenal that very few movies have ever been able to do. The misadventures of these airheads are, of course, funny to behold, but the thing is that even though the movie is so short, you start caring so much for the band, and you start to get really worried about, oh no, the band can't split up, and you know, all the things with, you know, the interviews and the flashbacks and the constantly dying drummers and the pods that won't open, and Tonight I'm Gonna Rock You Tonight, and Sex Farm, and no one comes to the store to buy their albums, and all of these things. It just creates such a rich world in record time. This movie is, what, 82 minutes long, and it is exactly what it is supposed to be. Now, fake documentaries is not exactly, it's not something I really dig, but this one is by far the best. Nobody will ever be able to touch this one. This is going to be the gold standard for this very seldomly used subgenre. It will never be surpassed, ever. Number 4. 1984. The poster says, George Orwell's terrifying vision comes to the screen. This film adaptation of George Orwell's dystopian description of the future of 1984 is a masterpiece. It is such a great adaptation. It is actually better than the source material itself. Richard Burton, in one of his last roles, if it wasn't his last role, I'm not entirely sure, and John Hurt it's absolutely brilliant in this one. It is a movie you will never rewatch. It is so horrible, it's so bleak, and it's so just nasty. You feel unclean after seeing this movie, and you will just feel so bleak, and you will feel so hopeless after watching it. But it is such a powerful watch. It is so greatly done, and at no point whatsoever you're seeing this movie and you're thinking the same year that this movie is, you know, taking place and is being shot in, you know, this is what the world outside this look like. It really, it is one of the best adaptations I have ever seen. It's masterfully directed, it is amazingly acted, it's wonderfully shot, it's amazingly edited, and Jesus Christ, what a movie this is. Oh God.
Number 3, Amadeus. The poster says, the man, the music, the madness, the murder, the motion picture. Everything you heard is true.
Amadeus, 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 Amadeus. Oh, oh, Amadeus, Amadeus. What is it to say about the movie Amadeus? Is it one of the greatest movies of all time to have won an Academy Award? Yes, it is. Is it a faithfully told story about the mad genius? In some cases, yes, it does take some liberties with history, but you know what? I don't care. This is one of the best historical dramas I have ever seen. It has amazing sets, it has amazing performances. It is a sheer joy to watch, to see one of the greatest of all time in an amazing movie. Whether or not you should see the director's cut or the theatrical cut is up for debate. My money is on the theatrical cut. We didn't really need the extra things. Amadeus is an almost perfect movie. It is one of these very rare Hollywood movies that doesn't feel like, you know, a glitzy, glamorous Hollywood depiction of history. It feels rambunctious and true, and it feels raw, and it feels natural, and it is funny, it is gripping, it is extremely well played, and I don't think that anybody is ever gonna try to do a big screen adaptation of Mozart's life ever in the history of ever, because it has already been made, and it has been made almost perfectly.
Number 2, Indiana Jones and the Temple of Doom. The poster says, if adventure has a name, it must be Indiana Jones. Short and sweet.
Indiana Jones and the Temple of Doom is a seriously pretty ballsy movie. They took a concept and made it very dark and very disturbing, and actually it was so disturbing that we got a PG-13 rating from it, and thanks for that, by the way. The second Indiana Jones movie is not as good as neither Raiders of the Lost Ark or Indiana Jones and the Last Crusade, but by God, my God, what an amazing third act it has. It has
mega strong
third act syndrome. Because the movie takes a lot of time to build up, and it plods a little bit in the end. It's the only reason why it is not number 1. Because it begins amazingly, you know, at the club in Shanghai, and then they, you know, go to India, and then nothing happens until Indy snaps out of his, you know, being crazy stuff, and then it, you know, the mine car chase and the fights and the fighting on the bridge and all these kind of stuff. It is a wonder to behold. It is one of these fantastic. It is a fantastic adventure. And I am probably one of these people who doesn't mind short round. Short round! Normally I am the kind of person who hates having kids in my big budget Hollywood movies, but I actually gonna give this one a pass. For some reason, maybe it is because I've seen this movie about 50 or 60 times, that I kind of am okay with short round. Maybe because he participates and isn't a wuss or anything. It is Willow that maybe is the problem, because the only thing she does is scream. She screams. But it does get a pretty good one-liner out of Indy. The worst part is the noise. Indiana Jones and the Temple of Doom is a bit of an underrated movie, because it really took risks to give you something new. and it delivered. It isn't as good as Raiders of the Lost Ark, but very few movies are.
And number 1, The Terminator. The poster says, "In the year of darkness, 2029, the rulers of this planet devised the ultimate plan that would reshape the future by changing the past. The plan required something that felt no pity, no pain, no fear, something unstoppable. They created the Terminator."
Sarah Connor. When I saw The Terminator for the first time, I kind of was, yeah, this is a pretty good movie, but man, Terminator 2 is so much better. And that is still true. However, when I rewatched The Terminator, I just realized what an amazing movie it is. It is the best performance Arnold will ever give. It is an amazing, almost horror movie-like aesthetics to the entire thing. It is basically a slasher with just one victim, and you know, your almost indestructible, you know, slasher, you know, boogeyman that comes after you. And the fact is that I think that Arnold's The Terminator is the only true, really great bad guy in the history of the 1980s. Because if you're looking back at it, he never does anything, you know, stupid. He never, you know, tries to outshine or anybody. He doesn't, you know, make these kind of classical bad guy mistakes. He never does anything flashy. He always goes straight for to try to kill Sarah Connor. And when you start noticing these kind of things, you do understand that this is a pitch perfect casting from top to bottom. Michael Biehn as the tough but vulnerable hero, Linda Hamilton as, you know, the determined but scared, you know, woman who is being chased by this thing, and her reaction to this thing is completely understandable. And I love the fact that she isn't a, you know, kick-ass from the start. She actually becomes that in the second movie, but in this movie, this is, you know, this is such an amazing movie done with a very small budget. It does have some small problems in the third act, which I always think is this slightly weaker than it could have been before that, because the budget and the special effects couldn't really handle what they were trying to show you. The Terminator is an amazing journey. It is tense. It is brilliantly shot. It has this raw, gritty feel to it, and yet it has an epic scope lurking around, and it is all over within 107 minutes. And to me, it was sort of a surprise to me when I saw this one in the cinemas, when they, you know, did a re-release a couple of years ago. Then I understood, my God, this movie is great. And it was also when you heard the sound, because it has some excellent sound effects, and the sound and the music and everything creates this dark, brooding, menacing feel to the entire thing, and that was what pushed this one over Indiana Jones and the Temple of Doom as the best movie of 1984. Great movie. I'll be back next time from, well, so-and-so reviewing such and such. Thank you for watching. Thank you very much.